Also today, the internet is still trying to make sense of two high-profile Homeland Security raids on Sean Diddy Combs' properties yesterday. Armored vehicles and law enforcement agents surrounded the estates in Los Angeles and Miami in the mid-afternoon amid reports of a sex trafficking investigation. At this hour, not much else is known and no comment has been issued by Diddy, leaving many questions up in the air. In the first 9 months of 2023, Sean Diddy Combs triumphantly performed at the MTV VMAs.
All I am is a man with ambition to be the best. When I failed, it just gave me the vision to see the rest.
Released an R&B album that garnered a Grammy nomination.
Wasn't even ready when God gave me the test, so I pray you find love in the pieces of me that's left.
And was a suitor to buy the BET network. But several lawsuits filed late last year raised allegations of sexual assault and rape against Combs, one of hip-hop's most recognizable names as both a performer and producer. On Monday, Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami were searched by federal agents with Homeland Security investigators and other law enforcement.
I live right next to him. He do too much. He be like buses, like big buses. You just see all type of hop out. Especially at nighttime, like around 3 o'clock in the morning. It gets wild.
Officials said the searches were connected to an investigation by federal authorities in New York and that investigators are looking into allegations Combs was involved in sex trafficking. Last November, R&B singer Cassie Ventura sued Combs in federal court in Manhattan. She had accused Combs of subjecting her to serial physical abuse, sexual slavery, and rape. She alleged Combs regularly beat her over the course of a 10-year professional and romantic relationship, controlled her through intimidation, and gave her drugs and alcohol. The lawsuit cited violations of sex trafficking and human trafficking statutes under federal, New York, and California laws. Combs, through his lawyer, denied the allegations. The next day, Combs and Ventura jointly announced they had settled the case out of court. The lawsuit by Ventura was one of at least 4 civil complaints brought in recent months leveling sexual assault allegations against Combs. Today, TMZ is reporting that yesterday's raids were a surprise to Diddy, who was seen at the airport in Miami a couple hours after agents surrounded his 2 properties. TMZ also reports that Diddy's private jet was flown to the Caribbean island of Antigua yesterday during the raids. Diddy wasn't on that flight and the plane has since been grounded on the island. Homeland Security likely won't be revealing many more details anytime soon, but some people online are calling attention to a Diddy music video from 1997.
Oh man, you got some visitors, dog. Let's get up on out of here.
Weird how things work out. We're joined now by security expert Hal Kempfer in California tonight, a retired Marine intelligence officer with 24 years of service and a former senior intelligence officer for Service, Joint, and Coalition Commands. Hal, what went down as security officers raided Diddy's properties yesterday? What do you suspect these officers were looking for?
Well, this is Homeland Security Investigations. It's the lead Homeland Security investigative component, if you will, of the Department of Homeland Security. One of their key jurisdictions deals with human trafficking, and a subset of that is sex trafficking. So they look at all sorts of things to include online, sexual content, if you will. Obviously, in this case, one of the allegations was that they were moving, at least in one case, a minor for sexual exploitation between states. So that would make it immediately federal jurisdiction, and it would fall under the Homeland Security Investigations special agents to investigate such a crime. And that's why you had that. Now, the core investigation, as I understand it, and they're not releasing a lot of information, is that it was actually based out of New York. And so I'm assuming that they had information that surfaced in New York that gave them reasonable suspicion, perhaps probable cause, if you will, to get those search warrants to rush down to those homes.
For the average viewer, it was shocking to see the number of heavily armed officers. What was behind this level of response?
Well, we don't know what the threat assessment was that they were dealing with. The fact that they went in there, with the weaponry they had, with Kevlar vests, helmets, armored vehicles, indicates that they may have been concerned that there were possibly armed individuals on those properties that could pose a threat. and certainly with the nature of whatever was going on here, they probably had information that there were armed individuals, and they just want to act in an abundance of caution, to come in heavy. I'm not saying it was particularly, say, shock and awe, but there is a little bit of that factor psychologically when you see, something like that shows up on your doorstep. If you'd had some strange idea that you were going to somehow forcefully stop whatever was going on, that would probably dissipate pretty quickly once you saw an armored vehicle with those types of special weapons and tactics personnel coming off to help serve the search warrant.
So how long would an operation like this last, and what are the next steps of Homeland Security?
That's a good question as to how long this thing would last. It'll last as long as they need it to last, I think. Those estates are huge. If you look at the aerial photos, the one in Los Angeles is, multiple very large buildings, a huge property, and they have to search all over. And I don't know if they have specific information as to where evidence may be located and potentially hidden, if you will. But with that, it's going to take a while. And certainly you saw all yesterday, they had the place taped off. They were going through the entire property. And keep in mind, somewhere in this is a U.S. attorney and assistant U.S. attorneys who are looking very closely at how everything's being done. And they're looking at whatever they're going to have to bring into court. And they have let's be honest, with Sean Combs' business empire, they're going to be dealing with some very sophisticated attorneys that are going to be opposing them. So they want to be very careful. They want to be very comprehensive. They want to have some overwhelming evidence, whatever it is. And keep in mind, from what we know right now, the search wasn't directed at Sean Combs himself. The search warrants are directed at the property. So it could be that it's not something involving, Sean Combs personally. It could be something that occurred on those properties. It could be people within his orbit that may have committed crimes. We just don't know yet. There's just not a lot of information out there. And frankly, when they're doing an investigation like this, there should not be a lot of information out there. So that's kind of where the situation sits.
Thank you so much for breaking this down tonight for us, Hal.
Okay, well, thank you, Nicole, for having me on.
And staying with this story, a resurfaced clip has been trending as Usher recalls living with Diddy at just 13 years old.
It was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Yeah, but you were 13. What were you seeing?
I went there to see the lifestyle.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was, but I don't know if I could indulge and understand what I was even looking at. It was pretty wild.
So nobody tried.
So the interview has certainly raised eyebrows in light of the investigation. Plus, Cassie Ventura has now released a statement through her lawyers. The 37-year-old says, quote, "We will always support law enforcement when it seeks to prosecute those that have violated the law." Adding that hopefully this is the beginning of a process that will hold Mr. Combs responsible for his depraved conduct.